The stars looked different in this part of space. Captain Vextar pressed his four-fingered hand against the cold metal wall of his ship and stared out at the distant rocks floating in the darkness. His ship, the Harmony's Voice, had been traveling for 3 weeks to reach this empty system. The Zilani people sent ships like his to find new places with good metals and crystals. It was peaceful work, and Vextar liked it that way. "Captain, we are getting some interesting readings from the third asteroid belt," said Kirlin from her station. She was young for a science officer, but her blue skin showed the dark patterns that meant she was very smart. "There might be rare metals there. Should we move closer?" Vextar nodded and walked to his command chair. The bridge was small and comfortable, with soft lights that reminded him of home. His crew of 12 were all good people who just wanted to explore and learn. None of them carried weapons, except for the small tools they used to cut rock samples. "Take us in slowly," he said. "Run full scans, but keep our power low. We don't want to damage anything important." The Harmony's Voice moved through space like a gentle bird. It was not fast or strong, but it was perfect for their work. The ship had been built for peace, with large sensor dishes and comfortable rooms for long trips. Vextar was proud of his ship and his crew. For 2 hours, they studied the asteroids. Kirlin found 3 different types of metals that would be very useful back home. She was excited and kept showing Vextar her readings. The other crew members worked quietly at their stations, mapping the rocks and taking pictures. Then everything changed. Captain called out Navek from the sensor station. His voice was tight with fear. "I'm picking up ships. Big ones. They just appeared at the edge of the system." Vextar felt his heart start beating faster. "How many ships?" 12. "No, wait. 15. They're huge, Captain. Much bigger than us." On the main screen, dots of light began to appear. As they got closer, the dots became shapes. Long dark shapes with spikes and weapons covering every surface. Vextar had seen pictures of these ships before, but never in real life. He had hoped he never would. "Krex Dominion ships," he whispered. The bridge became very quiet. Everyone knew about the Krex. They were the monsters that parents used to scare children. They took other people and made them slaves. They destroyed anyone who tried to fight them. No one had ever beaten the Krex in battle. "Sir, they're moving fast. They'll reach us in 20 minutes, Navek said. Vextar closed his eyes for a moment. He had to think. The Krex ships were huge war machines with guns that could destroy a moon. His ship had nothing but tools and hope. There was nowhere to run. The Krex ships were faster and would catch them easily. "Send a message to home," he told his communications officer. "Tell them what we found here. Tell them about the metals and the asteroids. Make sure they know we tried." "Captain, maybe we can talk to them," Kirlin said. "Maybe they'll let us go if we give them our information." Vextar looked at her kind face and felt sad. She was too young to understand. The Krex didn't talk. They took what they wanted and destroyed everything else. The 15 Krex. Ships moved into a circle around the Harmony's Voice. Each ship was 10 times bigger than Vextar's vessel. Their black metal surfaces were covered with weapon turrets that pointed at his ship like angry eyes. Red lights pulsed along their sides like blood. A voice filled the bridge. It was deep and harsh, like metal being torn apart. "Small ship. This is Commander Throck of the Krex Dominion. You will surrender immediately. Lower your shields and prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will result in your destruction." Vextar stood up slowly. His crew looked at him with fear in their eyes. He had to be strong for them, even though he was scared too. "This is Captain Vextar of the Zilani exploration vessel Harmony's Voice. We are peaceful explorers. We mean no harm to anyone. Please let us leave." Throke's laugh was like breaking glass. "You will surrender now or be destroyed. You have 60 seconds to decide." Vextar looked around his bridge. These were good people. They had families at home who loved them. They had dreams and hopes. The Krex would make them slaves or kill them. There had to be another choice. His hand moved toward the self-destruct control. If they were going to die, at least they would die free. At least the Krex wouldn't get their ship or their information. Captain Navek called out, "There's another ship, small one." It just appeared on sensors. So on the screen a new dot appeared. It was tiny compared to the Krex ships. It moved strangely, like it was dancing between the asteroids. "It's broadcasting something," said the communications officer. I can't understand the language. It's not Krex or Zalani or anything in our database. Vexstar stared at the small ship. Who would be crazy enough to come here now? Who would fly into the middle of 15 Krex warships? The unknown ship began sending signals on all frequencies. The sounds were strange, but somehow musical. Vexstar had never heard anything like it. 30 seconds. Throk's voice boomed. Surrender or die. The small ship moved closer. It was definitely not Krex. It looked sleek and fast, with smooth lines and no visible weapons. Vexstar wondered if its pilot even knew what was happening here. Then the small ship began talking to them. The small ship moved like a bird through the asteroid field. Inside, Captain Jake Morrison sat in his pilot seat and watched the screens around him. His ship, the Lucky Strike, was built for exploring, but it had some tricks that most people didn't know about. Well, Charlie, looks like we stumbled into something interesting, Jake said to his ship's computer. Indeed, Captain Morrison, replied Charlie in a calm voice. I am detecting 15 large warships of unknown design surrounding one smaller vessel. The power signatures suggest the larger ships are heavily armed. Jake was 42 years old and had spent half his life in space. He used to be a fighter pilot in Earth's military before he became an explorer. His brown hair was getting gray at the sides, and his hands had scars from fixing ship parts in dangerous places. He was not a tall man, but he was strong and smart. Can you figure out what they're saying to each other? Jake asked. I am analyzing their communications now. The language patterns are fascinating. Give me a moment. Jake watched as the big ships moved closer to the small one. He didn't need to understand their words to know what was happening. He had seen bullies before. These big ships were the bullies, and the small ship was in trouble. I have a preliminary. Translation, Captain, Charlie said. The larger ships belong to something called the Krex Dominion. They are demanding surrender from the smaller vessel, which appears to belong to a species called the Zalani. The Krex commander is threatening to destroy them. Jake felt anger grow in his chest. What did the small ship do wrong? I can determine nothing. Zalani appear to be peaceful explorers. The Krex seem to be ... aggressive by nature. Jake had fought against pirates and raiders in his military days. He knew the type. Who took what they wanted and hurt anyone who got in their way. He didn't like them then, and he didn't like them now. Charlie, can you talk to the small ship? I'm working on their language now. It is quite different from the Krex, but I believe I can manage a basic translation. Jake pressed some buttons on his control panel. Open a channel to the small ship. Let's see if we can help. The face that appeared on his screen was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. It was blue with large eyes and strange patterns on the skin. But the expression was easy to understand. Fear. Hello, Jake said slowly. My name is Jake Morrison. Can you understand me? The alien blinked several times. You, ... speak. I'm Captain Vexstar. How do you know our language? My computer's very smart, Jake said. Are you in trouble? Vexstar's face showed surprise. You do not know of the Krex? They are going to kill us or make us slaves. There are 15 of their warships. We cannot fight them. Hey. Jake looked at his own screens.
Nice.
The Krex ships were huge and covered with weapons. His own ship was tiny in comparison. Any sane person would run away as fast as possible. What's your ship's name? Jake asked. Harmony's voice. We are explorers. We just wanted to study the asteroids. We have done nothing wrong. Jake nodded. He believed the alien. There was something honest about Vexstar's face, even though it was so different from a human face. Charlie, Jake said quietly, what do we know about these Krex, based on their communications and ship designs? They appear to be a militaristic species that conquers other races. Their reputation seems to be quite fearsome in this region of space. And nobody fights back? It appears that most species either surrender immediately or are completely destroyed. Jake thought about this. Back on Earth, humans had a saying, the only thing necessary for evil to win is for good people to do nothing. He had always believed that. A new voice filled both ships. It was harsh and angry. Unknown vessel, the voice said. I am Commander Throk of the Krex Dominion. You will leave this area immediately or be destroyed with the other ship. Jake looked at Vexstar on his screen. The alien captain looked hopeless. His crew was probably scared and waiting to die. Jake had made his decision. Charlie, open a channel to all ships. Channel open, Captain. Jake cleared his throat. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth vessel Lucky Strike. I'm placing the Zilani ship under my protection. Any hostile action against them will be considered an act of war against humanity. The silence that followed lasted for several seconds. Then Throke's laughter filled the channel. It was a cold, mean sound. Humanity? Never heard of you? Another. Weak species trying to play hero. You have one chance to leave. Human. Take it. Jake smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. Charlie, are you recording this? Yes, Captain. Full audio and visual records. Good, Commander Throck. Let me explain something to you. I've looked at your ships, and I've looked at how you operate. You're bullies. Big, tough bullies who pick on people who can't fight back. Dare insult the Krex Dominion? Throke's voice was full of rage. I'm not insulting you, Jake said calmly. I'm just telling you the truth. And here's another truth. Humans really don't like bullies. Jake could see Vexstar staring at him with amazement. The alien captain probably thought Jake was crazy. Maybe he was. You cannot fight 15 warships with that tiny vessel, Throck said. Surrender now, and I will make your death quick. Jake reached for his control panel. Remember what? We learned in the academy about fighting bigger opponents. Make them think they're winning until it's too late, Captain. That's right. Charlie, activate Protocol 7. Let's show these Krex why humans don't back down. Jake's ship suddenly disappeared from all sensors. Even Vexstar's instruments showed empty space where the Lucky Strike had been just a moment before. Commander Throck stared at his screens in confusion. One moment the small human ship was there, and the next moment it was gone. His sensors showed nothing but empty space and floating rocks. Find that ship, he shouted at his crew. It cannot just disappear. On 15 Krex warships, hundreds of alien warriors worked at their controls. They scanned the area with every type of sensor they had, but the Lucky Strike was nowhere to be found. Jake Morrison smiled as he watched the Krex ships spread out and search for him. His ship was still there, but now it was invisible to their sensors. The stealth technology was something Earth's military had been working on for years. It bent light and energy around his ship like water flowing around a stone. Charlie, how long can we stay invisible? Jake asked quietly. Approximately 47 minutes with current power levels, Captain Charlie replied. However, I should mention that if we use weapons, they will detect us immediately. Don't worry. I don't plan to shoot at them. Jake moved his ship carefully. Through the asteroid field, the Krex vessels were big and powerful, but they were also slow and clumsy. They had to stay far away from the floating rocks to avoid crashes. Jake's ship was small and fast. He could fly between the asteroids like a fish swimming through coral. On the Harmony's voice. Captain Vexstar watched his sensors with amazement. The human ship had completely vanished. Even his advanced Zilani equipment could not find it. Where did he go? Kirillin whispered. I do not know, Vexstar said, but I think we are about to find out. The largest Krex warship suddenly shook like it had been hit by something. Warning lights flashed on its bridge as systems began to shut down. What happened? Throck demanded. Sir, our main weapon systems are offline, one of his crew reported. Something attached to our hull is draining power from our primary conduits. Impossible. Our shields are up. Sir, the device appears to have been placed there during our search pattern. Some kind of electromagnetic pulse mine. Jake's voice came over the communication channel. He sounded calm and almost friendly. Sorry about that, Commander Throck. Just wanted to get your attention. You see, humans have this saying, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Show yourself, coward. Throck screamed, Oh, I'm right here. You just can't see me. Another Krex ship suddenly lost power to its engines. Then another. Jake was moving from ship to ship, attaching small devices to their hulls. The Krex crews fired their weapons randomly. Into space, hoping to hit the invisible ship, but they only managed to damage asteroids and sometimes each other. This is impossible, one of Throke's officers said. How is one small ship doing this to our entire fleet? Jake heard the question through his communication system. Well, since you asked, I'll explain. You see, you guys are thinking like hunters going after one big target. I'm thinking like a soldier. I don't need to destroy you. Just need to take away your ability to hurt innocent people. Vexstar watched in wonder as the humans systematically disabled the Krek ships. Jake wasn't trying to destroy them. Instead, he was cutting their weapon power, damaging their engines, and confusing their communications. It was like watching an artist at work. Captain Kirillin said softly, "What kind of people are these humans?" "Very dangerous ones," Vexstar replied. "At least dangerous to their enemies." Jake moved his ship around a large asteroid and came up behind another Krek's vessel. But this time, instead of attaching a mine, he did something different. He used his ship's cutting tools to slice through the warship's communication antenna. "Oops," Jake said over the channel. "Sorry about that. These tools are really meant for cutting rock samples, but they work pretty well on metal too." The Krek's ship spun in circles, trying to find Jake's ship. In its confusion, it crashed into a large asteroid. The impact didn't destroy the ship, but it damaged the hull and knocked out more systems. "You cannot keep this up forever, human," Throck yelled. "When we find you, we will tear you apart." "Maybe," Jake said. "But here's the thing about humans, Commander. We're really good at making the best of bad situations. And we really, really don't like people who hurt others." Jake flew his ship close to another Krek's vessel. This one had learned from watching the others and kept its weapons pointed outward, ready to fire at anything that appeared. But Jake didn't appear. Instead, he used his ship's tractor beam to grab a large asteroid and push it toward the warship. The Krek's ship detected the asteroid and destroyed it with their weapons. But the explosion sent thousands of smaller rocks flying in all directions. The warship's shields protected it from the big pieces, but the small ones got through and damaged sensitive equipment. "Charlie, how are we doing on power?" Jake asked. "Still sufficient, Captain. However, I am detecting something concerning." "What's that?" "The lead Krek's vessel is broadcasting a distress signal. It appears they are calling for reinforcements." Jake stopped moving for a moment. He had been so focused on the ships in front of him that he hadn't thought about other Krek ships that might be nearby. "How long do we have, based on the signal?" "Strength and probable response time, I estimate 6 to 8 hours." Jake looked at his screens. He had disabled or damaged 12 of the 15 Krek ships, but they were still dangerous, and soon more would arrive. Many more. "Well, Charlie, looks like we need to change our plan." "What did you have in mind, Captain?" Jake smiled and looked toward the Zalani ship. "I think it's time to teach some new friends about human military tactics. Vexstar, are you still listening?" "Yes, Captain Morrison. We are here." "Good, because school is about to begin, and the subject is how to fight back." Jake's ship became visible again as he flew next to the Harmony's voice. Through the windows, he could see the Zalani crew staring at him with amazement. He had just fought 15 warships by himself, and won. But Jake knew the real battle was still coming. "Captain Vexstar," Jake said over the communication channel, "I need to talk to you and your crew. Can you meet me in your main meeting room?" "Of course, Captain Morrison. But how will you get aboard our ship?" Jake smiled. "Don't worry about that. Humans are pretty good at solving problems." 20 minutes later, Jake floated through space. In a small suit that protected him from the cold and vacuum, the suit had small engines that let him fly from his ship to the Zalani vessel. Vexstar watched through a window as Jake approached their docking bay. "I have never seen a spacesuit like that," Kirillin said with wonder. "It is so small and advanced." "These humans are full of surprises," Vexstar replied. Jake stepped inside the Zalani ship and removed his helmet. The air was good to breathe, though it smelled different from Earth air. The gravity was a little lighter than what he was used to, but he could walk normally. The Zalani crew gathered around him. They were all tall and thin, with blue skin and large eyes. They looked at Jake with curiosity and respect. Was a hero who had saved their lives. "Thank you for helping us," Vexstar said, bowing slightly. "We owe you our lives." "You don't owe me anything," Jake replied. I did what anyone should do when they see bullies picking on innocent people. Jake looked around the room at the 12 Zilani crew members. They seemed like good people, but they also looked scared. They had never fought anyone before. Listen, Jake said, I need to tell you something important. Commander Throck sent a message to other Krek ships. They're coming here to help him. We have maybe 6 or 7 hours before they arrive. The Zilani looked at each other with fear. How many ships are coming? Vexstar asked. Probably 20 or more, maybe 50. The Kreks don't like to lose, and they really don't like being embarrassed. Kirillin spoke up. Then we should run away. Our ship is not damaged. We can escape. Jake shook his head. They'll just follow you. Even if you get away, they'll remember what happened here. They'll come after your people with everything. They have. Then what can we do? Vexter asked. We are not warriors. We are explorers and scientists. That's exactly what we need, Jake said. You see, humans learned a long time ago that the best way to win a fight is not to fight fair. You don't try to be stronger than your enemy. You try to be smarter. Jake walked to the wall and pressed his hand against it. A display appeared showing the asteroid field around them. This is our battlefield, he said. The Krek ships are big and powerful, but they're also slow and hard to turn. This asteroid field is perfect for what I have in mind. What do you want to do? Vexstar asked. Jake smiled. I want to teach you how to turn this whole area into a trap. When the Krek's fleet arrives, they'll think they're walking into an easy battle. Instead, they'll be walking into a disaster. For the next 4 hours, Jake worked with the Zilani crew. He showed them how to use their ship's tools in new ways. The Zilani had equipment for studying rocks and minerals, but Jake showed them how those same tools could be used as weapons. Your rock cutters can slice through metal, Jake explained to the engineering team. Your gravity sensors can detect exactly where ships are, even if they're trying to hide. Your mineral scanners can tell us the weak points in their armor. Kirillin was especially quick to learn. She understood how to use the ship's sensor array to map the entire asteroid field and calculate the exact positions where they should place their traps. The Krek ships will want to surround us, Jake said. They'll move in formation, trying to trap us in the center. But we're going to use that against them. Jake showed them how to attach explosive charges to specific asteroids. When off, the asteroids would break apart and crash into each other. The chain reaction would create a storm of flying rocks that would damage any ship caught in the area. But won't we be caught in it too? Asked Navik. Not if we're in the right place at the right time, Jake said. That's where your navigation skills come in. You know this asteroid field better than anyone now? You can guide us through the safe paths while the Krek ships get trapped in the dangerous areas. The Zilani crew worked harder than they had ever worked before. They used their peaceful tools to create weapons. They used their scientific knowledge to plan destruction. It felt strange to them, but they understood that sometimes good people had to fight to protect themselves and others. Captain Morrison, Vexter said during a break, why are you helping us? Your people don't even know us. Jake thought about the question. On Earth, we have a saying, the only thing necessary for evil to win is for good people to do nothing. I've seen what the Kreks do to other species. If nobody stops them, they'll keep doing it forever. But you could have just left, Kirillin said. You could have gone back to your own space and been safe. Maybe, Jake said, but I wouldn't have been able to sleep at night knowing I could. Have helped, and didn't. 2 hours before the Krek's fleet was expected to arrive, everything was ready. The asteroid field was filled with traps and explosives. The Zilani crew knew their jobs. Jake's ship was hidden and waiting. Charlie, Jake said to his computer, are you ready for this? As ready as any artificial intelligence can be for battle? Captain? Good. Because I have a feeling we're about to make history. In the distance, new lights appeared. The Krek's reinforcement fleet had arrived, and they were coming fast. 23 Krek's warships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the asteroid field. Each ship was massive and dark, covered with weapons that could destroy planets. Admiral Korax commanded this fleet, and he was not happy about being called to help Commander Throck. Report, Admiral Korax said in his deep, angry voice. Sir, a single unknown ship attacked our forces, Throck replied over the communication channel. The pilot claims to be human. He disabled most of my ships using some kind of stealth technology.
1.
Ship Korax could not believe it. You called for help because of one ship? Admiral, this human fights differently than anyone we have faced before. He does not follow normal battle rules. Korax looked at his screens. He could see Throk's damaged ships floating among the asteroids. It was embarrassing. 15 warships beaten by one small vessel. Where is this human now? We do not know. Sir, he disappeared again after damaging our ships. Find him and destroy him, Korax ordered. And destroy the other ship, too. I will not let this insult go unpunished. The Krex fleet moved into the asteroid field in perfect formation. They were confident and proud. No enemy had ever beaten them in open battle. They did not expect today to be different. Jake watched from his hiding place behind a large asteroid. The Krex ships were moving exactly as he had predicted. They spread out in a wide circle, trying to surround the area where they thought the Harmony's voice was hiding. Vexstar, are you ready? Jake asked quietly. Yes, Captain Morrison. All charges are set. My crew is in position. Good. Remember, wait for my signal. We only get one chance at this. The Krex ships moved deeper into the asteroid field. They used their powerful sensors to search for the hidden ships, but they could not find them. The Zilani had learned well from Jake. They knew how to hide their ship's energy. Signature among the rocks, Admiral Korax was getting impatient. Spread out more, search every asteroid. They cannot hide forever. The Krex ships moved into the positions that Jake and Vexstar had planned for. They were exactly where they needed to be for the trap to work. Now Vexstar, Jake said. Kirillin pressed a button on her control panel. Throughout the asteroid field, small charges exploded at exactly the right moments. The explosions were tiny compared to the Krex ship's weapons, but they were placed perfectly. Large asteroids began to crack and break apart. The pieces crashed into other asteroids, which broke apart and hit more rocks. Within seconds, the entire asteroid field became a storm of flying debris. The Krex ships found themselves caught in a disaster. Rocks the size of buildings smashed into their hulls. Their shields protected them from the largest pieces, but thousands of smaller rocks got through and damaged their systems. What is happening? Admiral Korax shouted as his ship shook from impacts. The asteroids are breaking apart, sir, one of his officers reported. It appears to be a chain reaction. Impossible. Asteroids do not just explode, but they were exploding. Jake and the Zilani had turned the natural forces of the asteroid field against the Krex fleet. Gravity and momentum did most of the work. The small charges just started the process. Jake's ship appeared from behind an asteroid, moving fast through the chaos. He knew exactly where the safe paths were, because Vexstar's crew had mapped every rock in the field. Charlie, start recording. Everything, Jake said. Full video and audio. I want every Krex ship in the galaxy to see this. Recording active, Captain. Jake flew his ship between the damaged Krex vessels. Some were spinning out of control. Others had lost power and were drifting helplessly. A few tried to shoot at him, but their weapons could not track as fast. Small ship through the storm of rocks. Admiral Korax, Jake said, broadcasting on all frequencies. This is Captain Jake Morrison of Earth. I tried to warn your commander, Throk, but he would not listen. Now you see what happens when you threaten innocent people. You cannot defeat the entire Krex Dominion with tricks. Korax replied angrily. Maybe not, Jake said, but I don't need to defeat all of you. I just need to show everyone else that you can be beaten. Jake was not just talking to the Krex. Charlie was broadcasting the entire battle to every communication frequency they could find. All across this part of the galaxy, other species were watching the mighty Krex fleet being destroyed by flying rocks and one small human ship. The battle lasted only 20 minutes. When it was over, most of the Krex ships were damaged or destroyed. Only 5 vessels remained able to fight, and they were retreating as fast as they could. Admiral Korax's ship was heavily damaged but still working. This is not over, human, he said. The Krex will remember this insult. I hope you do remember, Jake replied. And I hope you tell everyone what you learned here today. The galaxy has changed, Admiral. Bullies are not welcome anymore. Jake's ship moved next to the Harmony's voice. Both ships looked tiny among the wreckage of the Krex fleet. But they had one. "Vexter, is everyone okay?" Jake asked. "Yes, Captain Morrison. We are all safe, and we are all grateful." "Don't be grateful. Yet this is just the beginning." Jake opened a communication channel to all frequencies. His message would reach every planet and ship within 100 light years. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of Earth. Today, the Krex Dominion attacked peaceful explorers from the Zilani people. We stopped them. From now on, any species that wants our protection has it. Any species that practices slavery or attacks innocent people will answer to humanity." Jake paused and looked at the stars around him. Somewhere out there, people who had been afraid of the Krex for generations were hearing his words. "The galaxy is changing," he continued. "Evil will no longer go unopposed. Bullies will no longer have free reign. Anyone who thinks they can conquer others just because they have bigger ships is about to learn that size does not matter as much as courage." Charlie finished uploading all the battle records to the Galactic Communication Network. The video showed everything. How one human and 12 peaceful aliens had defeated nearly 40 Krex warships using intelligence instead of brute force, on planets across the galaxy. Enslaved people began to whisper new words. The humans are coming. For some, it was a promise of hope. For others, like the Krex Dominion, it was a warning that their age of fear and conquest was ending. Jake looked at Vextar's face on his communication screen. The alien captain was smiling. "What happens now?" Vextar asked. Jake smiled back. "Dow. We go home and tell our people what we learned. Then we start building a better galaxy." The Lucky Strike and the Harmony's voice flew away from the asteroid field together, leaving behind the wreckage of tyranny and the beginning of something new.